Kofa, Kozee, Sisérou, they, them, sibling, is a Pan-Africanist, student, community member, and organizer with the Black Alliance for Peace, Haiti America's team, the Toronto Venezuela Solidarity Coalition, and the Anti-Fascist Football Coalition.
All right, so the first panel we have today is our Indigenous Resistance and Land Sovereignty panel. As this country's institutions attempt to convince us that acknowledgement is a replacement for true reconciliation, they ink deals for extractive nation building projects and pass lethal legislations like Ontario's Bill 6 and 233. While the Crown's war on all facets of Indigenous life has not relented for over 500 years, neither has resistance. Resistance from rural communities to the urban core, Indigenous people have never and will never surrender in their fight for self-determination. They continue creating conditions for the revitalization of Indigenous life amidst the ongoing genocide. This panel will feature speakers through whose experience demonstrate that the land back movement consists of demands that are actually achievable, central to all liberatory projects, and critical for all of our survival. So we have Gary with, perfect. Okay, so let me introduce our speakers. All right, so first we have Gary. Gary Wassaykeesic is an Ojibwe survivor. Gary, if you want to come on stage, is a survivor of the gauntlet of genocidal policies that Canadian governments and institutions have dealt with and are still dealing with against First Nations. He is a frontline warrior, advocating for justice and truth-telling on behalf of his mother, Sophie Wassaykeesic, who was murdered, as well as for Indigenous women and Indigenous men who face disproportionate rates of kidnapping, murder, and incarceration. Eve, if you're ready, yeah. And we also have Eve Saint. Eve Saint is a Wet'suwet'en land defender and mother of two and a leading organizer in the movement, urging RBC to divest from Coastal GasLink in the fossil fuel industry. Eve is the daughter of Chief Woos, one of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs. In 2020, Eve was at Gidimt'en checkpoint during the RCMP's militarized invasion of unceded territory, where dozens of unarmed Indigenous people were arrested at gunpoint, including many elders and women. Eve has continued to resist Coastal GasLink since then, and in recent years has focused on financial pressure as a strategy to stop CGL Phase 2 and to force the financial system to respect Indigenous rights. Eve has organized an international delegation of Indigenous land defenders to RBC's annual general meeting for the past 3 years, which has contributed to policy shifts at the bank related to respect for Indigenous rights and funding renewable and clean energy. Eve is also the co-founder and lead coordinator of 8th Fire Rising, a network of Indigenous land defenders and leaders opposing the recent onslaught of annihilating federal and provincial bills such as Bill C-5, Bill 5, Bill 14, 15, and all the rest of these genocidal policies. Eve lives in Takaranto, where she cares for 2 beautiful children. Please give a round of applause. All right, thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I'm gonna start with Eve and start with questions. So I want to first just lay the ground. Where are we today? What is going on? In the past year, we've seen under Mark Carney's Liberal government this onslaught of federal and provincial bills, Bill C-5, Bill 5 in Ontario. We have Bill 14 and 15 in BC, Bill 97 in Quebec, Bill 6 in Nova Scotia. All of these bills designed for further extraction and basically the squashing of Indigenous sovereignty. So how are these bills affecting Indigenous communities across so-called Canada right now?
Yes, okay, so hello, apologies, oh my goodness, I'm never late, by the way, I'm always on time. Okay, so where we are right now, where I would like to say, like, even though we are under colonialism, but like this is like colonialism 2.0, especially with the onslaught of all these bills and legislation. it is a strategy that they are using, even though they like to say that they are, elbows up to Trump and the tariffs, but meanwhile, they have gotten this strategy from Trump's right-hand man. It's a strategy to flood us with legislation and bills so that we aren't able to fight one or fight them. We're just overwhelmed. And so what I would like to say is that where it first began, where I seen, I stand behind Indigenous communities. I don't want industry in their communities. And then I started seeing all over, of course, Facebook. That's where you get all your information. And I started seeing all my relatives no to this bill, no to this bill. This is taking away our rights. This is infringing on our on our hunting, on our our game, our caribou, our salmon, etc. I'm like, what is going on? Something's going on. And so that's when I started reaching out. And that's where the 8th Fire Rising came to be, because we saw that they were flooding us. And so it's crazy because Indigenous people, they like to say that they give us FPIC, they like to give us free, prior, and informed consent, but they're going to do it anyway. They never really, that's what they're designed to do. They're designed to take everything from us. They give us beans. They give us just little by little. They do not want us to get ahead. They do not want us to profit. They do not want us to be have our communities flourish, because that would mean that they have competition. That would mean that they have a problem. That would mean that we would be standing up and reclaiming everything that they took from us. And so with all this, and this goes in hand with another thing that they're trying to do also with Indigenous communities, is that they're trying to push modern day treaties. So we have treaties, and of course, they break every single chance. They do not honor these treaties at all. We have to go to court for them to honor treaties, and even still, they make it so impossible. They have to, make us prove that we are using the land. We have to prove that we are there before contact. And we're not able, because they pushed us on reserves, they took everything, so we're not able to do this, and it costs millions and millions of dollars for lawyers to do this. And so anyways, with modern day treaties, there are some nations that do not have treaties, and they're unceded. Of course, this is my father's territory out west, with Wet'suwet'en, a lot of West Coast, they do not have treaties. But still, same thing, they do whatever they want, they push whatever they want, and every time industry goes into our territories, which it does most of the time, all of the time, they do go through our territories, that's when our territories get smaller. That's where a lot of lands get stolen even more. And so with modern day treaties, one of my mentors, Russ Diabo, he is a policy analyst, and he has been working with the Liberal government, so he knows how manipulative. This was a while ago. He doesn't work for them anymore. But he knows how manipulative they are. He knows, he's seen it and experienced it. And he is kind of like the lone wolf in AFN, out of all these chiefs. Because of course, AFN and chiefs are another arm of the federal government. So they're not, again, they're not for the people. There's a big disconnect from, the chiefs and the grassroots, the people. And so with modern day treaties, again, we're kind of being forced into I can't say it. They want to just turn us into municipalities. They want to turn us into small towns. They want to take away our land rights. They want us. They're still going to give us money, which is ours anyway, right? Where we make off the land, right? Where we make off industry in our territories. And this has been going on. This is called the Indian Trust Bank. And this has been going on for over a century, where all the money is being made. Anyway, and so that money is ours anyway. But yeah, they want to push us into municipalities, and they want to say, here's X amount of money, and you make the rest of the money for what you need. And that pushes us into signing with industry, signing with these projects of national interest and what we call ponies. And those are only good for X amount of time. What are we going to do for like when the project's over? When, you know, there's like only X amount of jobs for building it. Then it gets smaller for maintaining it, and then we're left. And if we can't pay the taxes, then we start losing our lands. And this has happened out west in the Niska Nation. They signed a modern day treaty, and now I hear they're struggling, and you know, they're trying to sign with LNG, Sealisms, they're trying to sign with PRGT. They lost like 3/4 of their territory. And this is what Russ Diabo has been warning everyone, like, do not sign these modern day treaties. You're signing your death sentence. You're gonna lose your land. And we're big on our land. That's who we are. That's what we do. That's why we stand up, because we have this immense connection to the land. And yeah, I just say it goes hand in hand with the bills. And oh, sorry, I talked too much.
No, that's amazing. I really appreciate how you laid everything out and how these systems work today, especially bring up the fact about the Indian Bank Trust, because I believe there's about 633 million, if not maybe more. It might also be billion, I can't remember the exact number. But a lot of this money that they're holding, which is obviously your money, Indigenous money. Gary, I wanted to get your perspective now on how you see all of these bills and how they're affecting communities, especially your community of Pickle Lake.
You want me to comment on how I see it?
Yeah. How do you see it?
First of all, I don't like sitting down when I'm talking. First comment I'd like to make, nobody's illegal on stolen land. You're on First Nations territory. One of the reasons why I did the flag routine on you is I want you to recognize this flag that I carry. I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. 30 years of going on the front line, trying to talk about First Nations politics and what happened with First Nations people on Turtle Island. This is a unity flag, bringing people together like we are right now. No one is illegal on stolen land. You know, this flag was used at Oka. This flag was used at different movements. We have our people masking up and shading up the way you see me do it. But I do it for a different reason. They've turned this into a warrior flag, a resistance flag. I've talked with the creators of the flag who told me, no, they don't like that. That's not what the purpose of the flag was. There's a science behind the flag. The red that you see is the blood of our people. The residential schools, the reservations, the 60 scoop, the foster homes, the training schools, the jails, the prisons. I've been in all of them. I'm not supposed to be here to talk to you today. I'm supposed to be dead. Eve, she's not supposed to be here to tell you what she just told you. They don't want you to know. I hate that word colonization. It's an insult. Assimilation, education. It's all insulting, man. You're looking at somebody whose mother was murdered, whose father was murdered, whose sisters were murdered. My grandmother, she was murdered. And you know what? You know what they do to First Nations here? Nobody gets charged even though you know who did it. That guy that's standing over in the corner, he killed my mother. Talking to a cop, talking to a judge, talking to a lawyer, talking to your own people, trying to point to the guy in the corner. It goes in 1 year, out the other. You know why it goes in 1 year, out the other? Because Indian pain is big business. We're just a number to them. You're going to need prisons, you're going to need jails, you're going to need psychiatrists, you're going to need psychologists, you're going to need doctors, lawyers. We're just a number to them. So when I say, you know, when he's asking me what does these bills, you know, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. I didn't have a clue what residential schools were when I started. All I knew when the residential school compensation package was opening up, I had promised the guy who killed my mother when I was 7 years old, I'm going to come look for you one of these days. I'm going to find you one of these days. I will get you one of these days. 7 years old. The guy used to beat me up. The guy used to punch me out, catch me, strangled me, froze down the back road, woke up in a bathtub. 7 years old, going after the guy that killed my mother. But I told him, I'm going to come for you one of these days. I'm going to look for you one of these days. I held on to that promise. It took me 30, 40 years. I had to go through residential schools, 60 scoop, foster homes, training schools, jails, prisons, alcoholism, drug addiction, relationships falling apart, because that's what everything was designed to do. Economic genocide will create cultural genocide, physical genocide, biological genocide, removing First Nations off the land so that they could have access to the resources. That's all it is. Making us run that gauntlet that we still run today. Bill 5, Bill C5, yeah. You know what I've been doing for the last couple of years? Like I said, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years now. I've been looking for graves on our territory, on our land, where mining companies have built over, where they have pushed us aside and put us on little boxes called reservation, indoctrination, removing us out of the way, so that they could have access to the resources. Putting us in institutions like residential schools and 60 Scoop and all other happenings. I ended up everywhere. Not just me. I come from a family that's numbers in the thousands. Wassaykeesic. They've turned it into Wassaykeesic, Wassaykeesic, and other ways. Wassaykeesic is the foundation. They had to take us apart to get us off the land. I come from the Ring of Fire area. If you guys know the map, the other side of Thunder Bay, the Ring of Fire that you hear, they built the highway through the little box they call a reservation through my community, Mishkigogama First Nation. We watch the trucks go in, watch the trucks go out. You want to talk about Bill 5, Bill C5? Yeah, now government and mining companies, now they just want to go on the land and tear it up. Well, guess what? No. 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 No more. No more. They went, like I said, I've been over the past few years, I've been getting told by elders and community members about graves on the land. The institutions and my family, like I said, my mother, they put her in a residential school at age 7. And you know, you guys don't talk about training schools enough, right? Training schools, I could tell you a lot about training schools. I ended up in 5 of them. They're putting my uncles and relatives and friends in training schools. We're in the course right now. So you talked about residential schools, 6 Scoop, and all other happenings, right? But you guys don't talk about training schools. My family ended up in training schools. And they were a lot worse than residential schools because they beat the shit out of you every day in training school. And you know what? I felt real lucky getting beaten up every day. You know why? Because kids were getting killed and kids were getting molested. I feel lucky. I was just getting beaten up. Again, like I said, Bill 5, Bill C5, they asked that question. Like I said, we're presently looking for graves. I have videos here. I've been going up into northern Ontario, up into our area. Like I said, everything was designed for us to make us forget. For people like me, alcoholic, drug addicted, homeless, whatever situation you're in, some are not, some are not. Not everybody's alcoholic, drug addicted, but we end up in places like Toronto, Ottawa, Thunder Bay, and other municipalities and cities across Turtle Island because of the system that played out. Yeah, I've been here 30, 40 years. Toronto's the best place to do your activism in the world. Other countries kill their activists and protesters. They go missing. People from all over the world come to Toronto. When I look into the crowd, I see people from all different nations. Everybody cries on Indian land, but nobody cries for Indian land. You got the Ukrainians marching. You got the Palestinians marching. You get all the different groups, different nationalities marching. Number in the thousands, 100,000 Iranians. You go to a native protest, what, 10, 20 natives? The rest are made of our supporters, hardcore. No. A Ukrainian once told me, he says, no, that's wrong. He says, we should be all marching for First Nations. You know, we should all be getting together, all the Ukraine, all the Palestinians, all the different groups, Iranians, they should be hitting the street for First Nations. recognizing the territory they're on, recognizing the crimes of residential schools and being, my brother calls it breaking the link that First Nations have with the land. He studied at Trent University in Peterborough. This guy memorized the Indian Act. This guy will tell you all about United Nations. That's who I work with. Whenever I'm doing a blockade, train blockade, road blockade, I was there the night the statue went down. One of the reasons the statue went down, the policy that says not to inform the child of a passing of a parent, whether it's your grandfather, your grandmother, your mother, your father, or siblings. If they pass away and you're at a residential school and the residential school knows about it, they don't tell you. And how do I know that? Because the professor showed me that policy after he heard my story. He wanted me to learn that policy really, really quick. He got mad. He slammed that paper in front of me. He says, you know how you got to where you are? And I thought he was mad at me. No, he was mad at the government because they used that policy on me when my mother was murdered. I was at the residential school. There's a certain way they do it. I'll tell you guys, one-on-one or whatever, if we ever get into a group discussion, I'll tell you how they use that policy. Like I said, everything's about, it's about removing us off the land so that they could have access to the resources. And then when you talk about Bill 5 and Bill C5, right? Making us run that gauntlet. You have to look at it this way. Reservations, residential schools, foster homes, group homes, jails, prisons, alcoholism, drug addiction, making us run that gauntlet that we are still running today. A lot of us don't make running that gauntlet. Now they want to add Bill 5 and Bill C5 to that gauntlet. Miigwech. I could talk I can get on the phone right now. I can get my brother on the phone and talk to you people. I could talk to you for days on end, man. Miigwech on behalf of First Nations for being here and listening to me and Eve and others. Get it from the people. Get it from the people. Don't get it from the government. Don't get it from the newspaper. Don't get it from, go to the reservations. Don't go to Six Nations. Go to Northern Ontario where you see the real picture. Because it's still happening today. Miigwech.
Thank you. Gary, I appreciate you as always for just being yourself and telling us your story and sharing that with us, and especially making it very clear that Bill C5 is just another policy in this long line of centuries of assimilation and all of these practices that they're trying to go through. And so, you talked about, you kind of led us to, I think, our next question, talking about what this resistance looks like. We've seen lots, there's been so much resistance. We can go back to the siege at Kanesetake and the resistance that was going on there in the face of these golf course, trying to build a golf course. We can look at 2020 and what's still even going right now in Wet'suwet'en, which is why I want to ask you, Eve, now, just from being on the front lines in Wet'suwet'en, from experiencing what it was like behind the blockade, experiencing what it was like to have these highly militarized raids, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And what does the resistance look like today?
Yeah, great question. I think for Indigenous people, it definitely does look different as opposed to settler allies, having an action or a rally. They get treated differently, obviously. As opposed to Indigenous people who, reclaim their land or stand up for their land. 2020 was pretty surreal, I feel like, but I feel like I had to do it. I really had to do it. I had to leave my life. I had to leave my apartment, my home, my partner, my cat. Of course, I left the cat with a loved one. I didn't leave it, oh my God. My school, I actually was in my 4th year of theater school. Yeah, I was halfway done. And I left everything, and I lost all of that. I lost all of that. And for Indigenous people, it's hard to get housing. It's hard to get money to go to school. It's hard to get a job. It's hard, you know, for love. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, I feel like, you know, a lot of Indigenous people do have to do that, but we shouldn't have to do that. When it was just the Indigenous people who got arrested, I was like, what? Where's our settler allies? Where's our allies? Why aren't they here? Like, that kind of really pissed me off. I'm pissed that not a lot of people showed up. Gotta show up. This is not the time. Our earth, our climate cannot afford it right now. We have to start doing more. Rallies are not doing it. Even when we organize, there's not a lot of people who show up. We got to start showing up, and I'm being a little bit hard, but like, we do have to be in unity with each other. Now, I'm asking you to look at your internalized white supremacy, and that's like your internalized racism, your internalized prejudices, and just like, you know, we have these racial borders against each other, and we shouldn't. We should be, you know, like, doing more together. I'm saying this with love, right? Because, like, you know, I try to show up for others too as well. It's hard because, like, I'm fighting my people's fight. I understand that. But, you know, for true like freedom, I think it, like, you know, you do got to liberate the Indigenous people of the land.
No, absolutely. And I don't think you're being hard at all. This is a war. There's a war against Turtle Island. We are seeing the war all across this world as the imperialists come together and try to defeat any type of resistance and protection of national sovereignty. And so going from that, particularly in these times when we're seeing Canadian white supremacist nationalism on the rise, or if anything, really just returning to its roots, the same thing we're seeing in the United Snakes, all of these, United Snakes, that's what it should be called. But yeah, particularly in these times when we are seeing this return to the roots of white supremacy, what does Indigenous sovereignty look like and mean to you? And what can we learn from traditional knowledge systems and governance structures in order to build alternatives in the face of environmental, social, economic, and spiritual collapse and decay?
I'll just answer really quick and then you can? Okay. So I noticed, because we do 8th Fire Rising, we have a website, we have social media handles, and when we do post or like have webinars, you know, of course we get the odd liberal white man being like, Indigenous won't work. I was like, what? Like, what does that even mean, Indigenous won't work? Like, what are you talking about? You don't even know. You didn't even know because it never had a chance to coexist. And, you know, if you really want to know how the systems would do, you look pre-contact. And the thousands upon thousands, and it's more than 13,000 years, by the way. I really hate when they say that, because they're trying to justify, you know, stolen lands. They say that we come from the Bering Strait. Bullshit. We have, and there are witnesses from archaeological findings that we have been here over hundreds of thousands of years, if not 500,000 or 250,000 years. So I'd just like to say that. And, you know, that just shows how well, you know, we treat the land. And we, you know, I was thinking about this on how beautiful my people are, is that we still get to be connected to our land. We are so fucking connected. Like, I know some people aren't, but they still are, whether they like it or not, whether they believe or not. They're gonna still have ancestors that are with them, even though wherever they walk on their land, whether it be, you know, in the street, whether it be on the subway, whether it be up north on the res, they are still foot on their lands. And, you know, I love, you know, I was talking to my partner was at Standing Rock, and he was just like talking about, you know, how, you know, him and his friends were, you know, riding down to Standing Rock, and then a big eagle came swooping down and showed its wings and was like, and they're all like, oh, you know, that's the Indigenous way. Like, that's, we just, you know, we just love the animals. Like, you know, we honor those signs. We, you know, I did a talk, and, you know, I was just saying, we're kind of like one with nature. And I was like, but it sounded corny, but we are. We are part of the ecosystems. We know those ecosystems. And like, whether we hunt, you know, we don't take as much, we know what to do with everything. We know, you know, to give thanks. That's reciprocal. That's being one. That's, you know, caring for the land. And if we had a chance, you know, even with industry, because industry does not do a good job at cleaning up after themselves. If they were to work with Indigenous people and listen to them, you know, they would know that, you know, like, they have to effing clean up. No, you can't put fences on salmon spawning grounds. They need to go upstream for, like, and that's what industry does. Like, they destroy everything around them. They don't give a shit. And it's us that are impacted. So, yeah, like, if we did have a chance, and that is what we do need to get back to, is true sovereignty. And when we have true sovereignty over ourselves, over our bodies, then other people have that too as well. Like, it's not just, you know, one person or one group of people, but I do dream about, you know, a life beyond colonization and white supremacy, and that is, you know, land back, that is, you know, true sovereignty for Indigenous people, and leadership, and standing with Indigenous people.
All right, Gary, I don't want to cut you off. We just have about a minute or two, so I never want to shorten what you've got to say. But
See, that's the other problem with these events. You guys want to hear about First Nations, right? Oh, we only have 1 more minute. What's the purpose of coming here, man? You guys want to hear about it or not? You know, come on, man. Let's open up here. Because I sure as hell ain't finished talking. I'm saying? I do blockades, man. It's a genocide. My people died over this stuff. And you want to give me 5 minutes? We've been here thousands of years, 100,000 years, living with the science. We had controlled burning in our forest so that we don't have these fires that we have today. We lived with the science. We lived within a circle, the circle of life. When it came time to hunt, we went over here. When it came time to trap, we went over into this area. When it came time to, you know, pick, we went over to this area. The teepee that you see in the pictures in Hollywood movies, right? Have you ever studied the teepee? and other forms of First Nations living. You probably haven't. You don't even know what that teepee represents, man. It's the womb of the mother, keeping the child warm. What do you think the fire is about? Fire is life. Water is life. We've been here for 100,000 years or even longer, living with the science. And then what? A materialistic crowd comes along asking, where's your address? We don't have addresses. Come on, man, snap out of it, wake up. 1 minute left to talk. That's insulting to First Nations, man. You guys want to talk about unity? Well, let us speak. I'll tell you what happened. I get my teachings from the elders. I'm an elder myself now. I'm starting to recognize what they talk about. I said, we lived with the science, you guys, before everybody got here. Our families were intact. Then along comes the white man. Materialistic, has to dominate. You know? You come here, and in one morning you devastate the destruction of the land. That's what the elders talk about. And a big snake, like I said, our prophecies and our religions have been pushed aside so that all of this could take place. One of the prophecies of our people, and one of the teachings of our people, a big snake will come on the land and eat everything. And when it has eaten everything, it will start to eat itself. That's the point you guys are at now. You know, you guys might be sitting here thinking, oh, what do you mean, us? Well, if you're not going to be a part of the change, you're a part of the problem. I said a big snake is going to come on the land. The elders talk about the big snake coming on the land and eating everything. And after it has eaten everything, it will start to eat itself. And that's what's happening now. The politics that's playing out in the States, Trump politics, Republicans, conservatives on this side, Freedom Convoy, January 6th crowd. Snap out of it, man. Wake up. I march. I fight for different groups. I don't talk about it. I'll go fight those racist people. I'll go on the street. Yeah, I'll bang them up, man. And you know what? It's a whole lot of fun. You should come along with me. You know? Yeah, man. Catching them, some of them in the alleys, in the parks, whatever, you know. Letting it out, man. Letting it out, right, for the people, right? You know, because they deserve it. You can't let them walk. When you guys are talking about them coming inside, yeah, come on inside, buddy. We'll close the door behind you. We'll lock the doors behind you. You're damn right. Okay, yeah, you come inside and we'll lock the cops out. Damn right, because we've had enough. Enough is enough. Everything stops now. We come together as a people. You know, on our side, like I said, when we call for action, First Nations action, there's only like Eve says, you know, like there's only 10, 20 of us, First Nations. A lot of the supporters come here from different countries that know exactly what genocide is about, that know exactly what crimes against humanity is about. You know what? Recently, what I found out, a couple of days ago, I went on the Iranians, you know, talked to some Iranians because of what's happening in their country. Iranians study First Nations on their land. They study the residential schools, the 60 scoop, and everything else that's happening. with First Nations and what the Canadian government did to First Nations. Like I said, I'll go on the front line. I've gone up against the police, I've gone up against government, I've gone up against CSIS, I've gone up against whoever it is that you have to go up against. I've been doing this 20, 30 years. I credit my mother, Sophie Wassaykeesic. Can you say that out loud for me? Sophie Wassaykeesic. Miigwech, 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 because that was my mother. She was murdered when I was a kid. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today. Because I told that guy, I'm going to come for you one of these days. I'm going to look for you one of these days. I'm going to find you one of these days. You know? Everything that you guys want to talk about, the questions that you are asking, let us speak. All those questions that are being answered, that are being asked right now, every one of you should know them by now. Very, very insulting when you go up to First Nations and say, oh, what community are you from? Oh, what tribe are you from? That's insulting, man. And then you turn around and ask them, well, how long have you been here? Oh, I've been here 30 years. Oh, I've been here 50 years. You know what I tell those people? I'll speak some French, maybe you'll understand it. This is how I respond to them. Get the fuck out of here. You've been here 20, 30 years, 50 years, and you don't know nothing about First Nations? Have you ever been to the reservations? Oh, yeah, well, I went and drove by Six Nations. Have you ever been up north? Have you ever been in a fly-in community? Do you know anything about the high food insecurity? No, the crime still happens today. You know, like I said, this guy says 1 minute. I could talk to you guys all day long, man. And, like I said, some of our biggest supporters are white people, eh? Hardcore brothers, man, sisters. Because they don't like wrong. They don't like what happened. So they come on this side. They're good people because they have money, they have vehicles, they have... They come with their devices, they come with their equipment. Because First Nations, a lot of First Nations, we're still living in poverty. We don't have those devices. We don't have those vehicles. We don't have that transportation. We don't have a lot of things that we should have. Economic genocide. They've turned us around so much to think that we're the poor people. Nah, boss, you got that wrong. It's our land, our territory. Everything that's in this room is ours. All the phones that you have, the chairs that we sit on, the building that we're in, it's all ours. Convinced First Nations we're the poor people. Convinced you, pointing at us, living on reservations. Look at them, living in poverty. Oh, we have to give them money. Oh, we have to give them money to fix their water. Walkerton breaks out. The whole army goes to Walkerton because of the water problem. Army, psychologists, and everybody else, right? Well, why don't they go up to First Nations Reserve where 50 to 100 communities are under the boil water advisory? You know why they don't go up there? Because it's called economic genocide that still carries on to this day. Like I said, I'm not supposed to be here to talk to you today. I'm not supposed to be like, me and her, we're not supposed to be here up front telling you our story. I've been shot at, stabbed at. Like I said, I froze. I've been beaten. I've been, But, yeah, I get up. You know why? Yep, I'm here today. Eve's here today. She's got her own story, And, like I sound mad. I am mad. I'm pissed off. That's why I do what I do. But I'll tell you something. And all the things that I've learned, all the terms that I've learned, economic genocide, breaking the link. You guys probably even haven't heard the civil liter mortis law. Does anybody know what that is? Some of the things that I'm telling you are told to me by elders that you're not going to learn in the universities. Of course, they're not going to teach you about economic genocide and removing First Nations off the land so that they could have access to the resources. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to break it down. They're going to soften the blow, right? And talk about assimilation. Oh, we give them money. Well, why don't you go live in those houses? They're called cardboard houses. You don't see brick on First Nations homes. The longevity of our elders is cut short by what? 10 years, 20 years in the city here, Hey, what's wrong with this picture? How come three of my younger brothers are dead now? I went through everything that I went through, the Sisérou, mothers murdered, fathers murdered. How come they're dead now? What's wrong with that picture? In Canada, it's supposed to be the elders that are dying off first, the older ones that are dying off first. In First Nations territories, we have a lot of the youth that are dying through overdosing and killings in other ways. When I first got here, I used to hang around Bloor Spadina. We had First Nations coming in from all over the territories and through the United States. We used to hang around Bloor Spadina, man. Yeah. We ruled Bloor and Spadina because we're coming in from all over, right? Street, man. Coming in from the pain of it all, the reservations, the Sisérou, the missing, murdered Native, hurting, homeless, landing on the streets, Toronto, Thunder Bay, wherever. I land on Bloor Spadina. I want to bring this up so that you guys realize something, the real story. 30 years ago, over 30 years ago I got here. I didn't have a clue of anybody. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know where I was. Toronto, I wanted to be in Toronto, summertime. There's a story behind that. I'll tell you one-on-one what that story is. But when I got to Toronto, I didn't know anybody. So, I was hanging around Yonge Street, right? I was hanging around Yonge Street, and they told me, I was wondering, where's the Indians, man? And a white guy comes up to me, and I asked the white guy, I said, where's the Indians? He says, well, why don't you go to Bloor and Spadina? That's where a lot of Native people hang out. Go to the Native Canadian Center. So I did. I went to Bloor and Spadina. I hung out there. Sure enough, the guy's right. I went to the Native Canadian Center, started meeting some of the brothers and sisters. We started going on the corner, hanging out on the corner. Weed was illegal back then. Our medicine was illegal back then. Our medicine, marijuana, was illegal back then. So that's what we're doing on the corner. We're having a whole lot of fun, man. Street, man. You gotta try it sometime. Reality, man. You know what I'm saying? Having fun, right? Me and the Bills, man. The sisters, right? Control, right? And you know what? There used to be like 30, 40 of us. 30, 40 of us on the corner. A lot of my friends coming in from different communities up north, all up across into the States, all ending up with the same story. Residential schools, six scoop, whatever, right? We owned Blue Ridge Spadina.
Woo, woo. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Gary.
A lot of,
Thank
I'm
you.
not done yet. A lot of my friends are dead now. A lot of my friends are dead now. Murdered. Given hot shots. They're being found in the washrooms, in the alleys, and in the parks. I sit on the corner now. It's total quiet. That's what the system did. You know what? I'm getting fed up with being told 1 minute. Like, I don't even want to fucking be here. Fucking disgusting being told 1 minute. My mother was killed, man. My father was killed. And you know what about my father? The guy that killed my father, one of them lives on the other side of Kenora, and he's never been charged. I have pictures on my phone of his house. I've been to his, right to his laneway. I've told judges, lawyers, and now I'm telling you. I have to live with that. Now I ask you, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Because when I try to tell that story about my mother and the guy that killed my mother, I try to tell Native organizations, Native people, I try to tell the lawyers, judges, and whoever else you're supposed to do the right thing. Nobody did a damn thing. And so far, nobody's done a damn thing about my father. So you want to talk about Palestine? You want to talk about Gaza? You want to talk about the same things that happen in Gaza happens here? So go do something about my father. Other than that, don't say a fucking word to me.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate both of you for everything that you. And thank. It's all good, Gary. It's all good. No, I appreciate you, Gary. I appreciate you. This is real life. This is not. Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we need. No, no bad feelings over here. You're good. You're good. You're good, man. All right. Yeah, thank you both so much. Thank you to Eve and to Gary. And also, Gary didn't mention this, but I do want to mention, because we talked about this, Gary is looking for help, trying to figure out how they can get resources and funding to search for, to find the buried graves up in Pickle Lake. And so if you are able to help with this, please talk to Gary, because Gary really needs help, and the whole family needs help with this.
I'll show you videos of the graves that I've been looking for.
All right, yeah, please. Well, thank you once again to both of our speakers, to Eve Saint and Gary Wassaykeesic, and thank you to everyone for listening to this panel.